Some scholars interpret the phrase, God was with the lad, from Genesis 21:20, to imply that Abraham left Ishmael and Hagar near the house of God, Kaaba, and dedicated them to God, as mentioned in the Quran, Surah 14, verse 37. They also believe the phrase, and he grew, in Genesis 21-20 indicates that Ishmael was still an infant at that time. What are their reasoning and arguments? Here are the key arguments and reasoning behind this particular scholarly interpretation. 1. Analysis of God was with the lad, Genesis 21:20. These scholars argue that this phrase indicates more than just divine protection. It suggests a specific sacred location. They connect this with Surah 14 verse 37 of the Quran, where Abraham states, O our Lord, I have settled some of my offspring in an uncultivated valley near your sacred house. The parallel between these texts is seen as evidence that Ishmael was left near the Kaaba, house of God, where God's presence would be particularly manifest. 2. Ishmael's age and the phrase, and he grew. The phrase, and he grew, suggests a developmental stage, implying that Ishmael was still a young child or infant when these events occurred. This is consistent with the narrative in Genesis 21, where Hagar carries the child and later places him under a shrub when they run out of water. In Islamic texts, Ishmael is depicted as an infant during the journey to Mecca. The miracle of the Zamzam well, which sprang forth to provide water for Hagar and Ishmael, is a central story illustrating God's care for them in their vulnerability. 3. Theological framework. These scholars view the story as part of a larger narrative of divine purpose. Abraham's action is interpreted not as abandonment, but as a divinely guided placement. The location near the Kaaba is seen as crucial for Ishmael's future role in establishing monotheistic worship there. 4. Textual connections. The scholars draw parallels between the biblical account and Quranic narrative. They see the biblical phrase, God was with the lad, as complementary to the Quranic account of Abraham settling his family near God's sacred house. The emphasis on divine presence in both texts is viewed as supporting this interpretation. This interpretation represents a particular scholarly view that attempts to harmonize biblical and Quranic accounts, though it's important to note that this is one of several interpretations of these texts.